Hi everyone, just to recap, this is actually a photograph from the A5 sketchbook, and you'll see on it I've got notes. I've got on the top there the fields, pale barley. I have my own shorthand, BG bright green, except olive green as well, OG, straw, etc. So it's a useful technique to put little notes on. In the start of the dale, where the grass is dark green, there are often these horses, absolutely magnificent horses, fine boned, pretty skittish, apparently hunters. So I was thinking about sketching them and got a little bit distracted in the sketchbook. But anyway, moving on. Hi everyone. Yesterday I popped over to Hutton Cranswick, the art group at Hutton Cranswick, and we did this little demonstration just using the three primary colours, blue, red and yellow, plus a little bit of white, and didn't quite finish it, so I just thought I'd add one or two more details for the group, if you're watching, just to sort of finish it off a little bit. I'm not going to finish it off completely, but I can see here there's a hedge missing, bits of hedge here, and little bits of detail. So and some maybe foreground interest down here. So I'm just going to use a pretty broad sort of ordinary brush. The just two colours, yellow and blue, and we'll have a go. So just looking at some close-ups of the painting we did yesterday. Here's the hedge with gaps in. Here's a little bit of the hedge in front of Robert Fuller's studio which needs putting in, and also these sections here across the fields. The blue is French ultramarine. So this is a bit of hedge going in, a bit more blue. I'm going to make these a bit darker, these trees that are just poking out from the hedge. I'm using a rather inappropriate brush here. It's a round bristle brush. I would normally use a rigger to get plenty of paint on it and then drag it along, but this is using a larger round-headed brush, but it's just for demonstration, just to sort of show you the way adding the dark hedge helps. Also, I noticed this tree needed a little bit of detail, so I'm adding a little bit of yellow to lighten up the green, to suggest the sun's catching it at the top. Yeah, so I think that's a bit better. Helping the slope look more realistic, I added a little bit of pale green here. So just with a bit of work on the trees there, give them a bit more interest. And again, a bit more blue for the base of the trees, which will be in shadow. Just looking at it, again just using the yellow and the blue. Just bring that line back a bit there. Right, okay, so I've just added a little bit of red. I'm just going to add that red to the blue here, touch of yellow, and make a dark shadowy colour. Yes, that's quite dark, very dark in fact. So this is going to be the shadow. That looks a bit more realistic. You could perhaps just have the break. Don't make it completely solid. Just suggesting the shadow coming down the hillside there. So, what does that look like? Yeah, a bit more of a shadow. Right, okay, so, and as I mentioned before, we had here, at the edge of the field, a bit paler. Mix a touch of red with some yellow here. Get a slightly orangey colour, suggesting the field coming down. And then pure red on fire, as it were, suggesting the rosebay willow herb which grows along here. Looks dramatic. The old English word being fire plant. Okay, I've just added some white. I don't know if you can see that white. A little bit more yellow, and I'll just do a little bit more work on the painting. I'm going to add some dark here. This is the gorse. So blue, red. That gorse is very dark. We rushed this a bit yesterday at the demonstration, so I'm just going to work that in a little bit, and it's rolling down the hillside and it goes up a little bit. So I'll just suggest, that's a tree there. Yeah, okay, let's have a look at this. I'll just get a rigger. I'm mixing some white here, and I'm going to do some grasses, and I'm going to deliberately go above the line like this, the line of the hillside, because the grasses were very tall, perhaps just a little bit of yellow, and lovely seed heads. So it's nice where you've got dark areas. You can use those dark areas as contrast. If you've got watercolour paper, you could do this with a clear water and then just dab it, and it will lift off to give you a nice suggestion of grass. Now, there were some pretty dark seed heads which were smaller, so you could put lots of these little shorter seed heads in. I noticed these, and I think if you do this, it gives a bit more interest. So smaller, I won't go across all the way, but you get the idea. And let's just put one or two in here. And I'm pretty sure it was wild scabious, this lovely pale blue, that was happening. So let's try and get some of that pale blue. So again, French ultramarine, some titanium white, that looks a pretty good blue. So I'm going to put some little dabs. I did a little bit of this yesterday, but we'll put some more in. And of course scabious is quite tall growing, I think. So there you go, we've got some scabious. Oops. And that's starting to look a bit more interesting. Just one or two bits more grass there. You can use a very dry brush to get an overall effect here as well. A dry brush with bristles. I'll just show you something quickly. Here I've got just an ordinary sort of brush. I'm going to squeeze the bristles at the end and they open up, causing a rough edge. I'm just going to try something, see whether this works. So then what you can do, squeeze them apart like this, you can get the effect of some super fine grasses. One more thing, and I think I'll call it a day. This was a bright, it shines bright white, this road, from up here. So I'm just going to go over that again to make that stand out. Also, just one very last thing. There is a footpath that goes across here. So just mixing a pale green. That's to suggest the footpath. On the edge of the footpath here, there's a little bit of weed growth and things. So just do suggest that there. That's quite a nice colour actually. I'm going to put that in there. Right. Okay. What you could do, as I was saying in the demonstration, you know, the clouds get smaller because what you're seeing in the distance, as the clouds get closer to the horizon, they will be smaller. There. So I think that's about it really. So you get, that was the darker blue I was just putting in like this, just a very rough. So and usually as well, don't forget the clouds quite often, not always, but quite often are quite flat at the bottom. So you can have quite a flat cloud. It's not always the case. You just look and see what you think. Look at clouds next time you're out. But quite often they're flat. This one isn't flat. That's me messing about, but quite often they're like quite flat, especially the lower clouds. So that wouldn't be there, that'd be more like that. Very pale as you get to the horizon. So there you go. And I think that's just about it. But here is how we finished off yesterday. The grasses weren't really put in at this stage. The hedges needed to be put in and the shadows darker, the road needed to be added, and the sky needed a bit of work. So after spending about 10 minutes just touching it up, the road is more distinct now, the grasses are more interesting, and the sky looks a bit better. So there you go, everyone. 3 colours: ultramarine blue, lemon yellow, and cadmium red or similar. The blue really needs to be ultramarine, and perhaps it'd be good to test the blue and the yellow to get your greens before you actually commit. Anyway, good to meet you all, and have a nice summer break, and I'll see you sometime in the future.